axing Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua from the Kenya Kwanza government through filing of a motion of impeachment. Gachagua's allies are breathing fire.
From the mountain, he represents us in that government. And therefore, attacking Rigathi Gachagua is attacking the mountain. Attacking Rigathi Gachagua in his political space as a deputy president is also attacking Kenya.
Let us not think that, in fact, it will be a business as usual to bring such a motion of a deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, a person who comes from a particular region. This one, I can tell you, to bring a lot of backlash.
If the president has no confidence with his own deputy president, he should publicly come and say so. But if he has confidence in his deputy president, then he should, and also advise his members of parliament.
Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga has dared any member of parliament to table the motion, referring to Gachagua's political influence as one that cannot be downplayed.
That is an affront towards the mountain, and it is really an attack on us as a people. And we will not take it lying, but it has its consequences. Whoever feels that that is the way to go, we kindly tell them, bring it on, we will deal with it.
They further argue that the grounds for impeachment are invalid, as the second in command has dedicated himself to serve the Ruto-led government without question.
Hiyo maneno ya deputy president na impeachment, hiyo tunawagojea. Hatutakubali. We are not going to allow anybody to victimize anybody just because he says he loves his community or he is talking for his community. For example, sasa kama mnataka kuimpeach deputy president, mnataka kutuambia ile kazi ya pombe alikuwa anafanya ni mbaya.
So surely, for me, it's not a priority, and I am clear that that's not something I would support. And I think we have more urgent issues that we need to be discussing.
With that kind of thinking, is somebody with very evil mind. Because what I have just tried to say, to check around those grounds that actually I read, and eventually I just realized that actually people are just playing politics and bringing gimmicks and just trying to bring allegations against a single person.
Joel Chacha, K24 TV, Nairobi.
All right, that story by Joel Chacha gets us to a conversation here, sets in motion the kind of conversation we want to have here in studio. And the mountain seems to be a little bit slippery for the deputy president, that is Rigathi Gachagua. Everything seems to be going south. An impeachment motion wants to be tabled in the House to have him impeached. Signatures are being collected in the National Assembly. And adding to that, he's being accused of fueling, sponsoring chaos. And of course, yesterday we did see detectives visit his current home to probe claims that his top aides financed chaos in anti-Ruto protests by youth demanding accountability in use of public funds and good governance. A lot seemed to be not in his favor at a time when the nation is being united politically. Let me start with you, Vivian. An attempt to impeach the deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua. How will this look like?
If it goes through, if indeed a motion is tabled for the impeachment of the deputy president, I just see like an all-out war, especially in the ruling party in UDA. I don't know how things will be, because I remember even how just in the run-up to Ruto naming his deputy president, just before the elections, and how he literally bulldozed his way into that position of deputy president, because initially he didn't seem like he was, the first choice. Mm-hmm. It was supposed to be, I think, Kindiki. But somehow or another, he managed to, bulldoze his way and got into that position. And I don't think politically, I don't think he's someone you can easily just wish away. So if the attempt is made, I think it will be like a very brutal war in internal wars within the ruling party. And I don't know if considering the ongoing protests and just public sentiments against the government, mm-hmm. I don't know if they can take external, backlash from the public and then internal wars and remain intact in government until 2027. Okay. Unless they're able to, garner support from Azimio, any other way would be suicidal.
Okay. Honorable Geoffrey, this is the thing. This is what is really happening within the Kenya Kwanza government and within the UDA party that has led to some members of parliament believing that, by the way, this is something that we could tackle?
I think the issue here is not about the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. It's not about any other person. It's about what happened when Parliament was invaded, when Judiciary, Supreme Court also was invaded, and when Sechor was banned down. Whatever happened that day was well planned, and there must be people who planned whatever was happening, and it was financed. And there is information that whoever was planning what was happening on that day, they expected at least 50 members of parliament to be killed, and at least not less than 1,000 protesters to die. If that was achieved, Kenya would have changed forever. We would not be having a country at the moment. We would not be having a government at the moment. It would be anarchy. And we thank God that it never happened. It was not achieved. So if that is the case, then it means it was an attempted coup. And if you are engaging yourself, whether, regardless of your position in government or in society, whether it's a member of parliament, whether it's a government official, whether, I don't know, wherever you are serving, and you involve yourself in activities which are likely to be perceived as an attempted coup, then that person, those people, cannot be around to go scot-free. Something must be done, because if nothing is done, I think grouping will happen, and once they come back, there will be no nation to talk about. Okay, so I think it's not about Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. From where I sit, it's about trying to get to the bottom of the issues. What exactly happened? We know there is information on external involvement on what was happening. It is true there is genuine concerns about peaceful demonstrations which were done for the first day by agencies. It was extremely peaceful, very serious concerns on what should be done by the government to ensure we have a proper government which is taking care of its people. Good concerns, peaceful demonstrations, but after that, the demonstrations were hijacked by self-seeking interests,
so
both locally and internationally.
Fall into this one?
Sorry?
Where does the Deputy President fall into this one? Because he seemed to be on the receiving end of all this.
I will not want to discuss the Deputy President. I just want to say, regardless of who you are, except one person, the President of the Republic of Kenya, because he can't attempt to overthrow himself. All of us, we are culpable, whether in executive, in parliament, wherever you are, and you participated in one way or the other in banning offices of members of parliament across the nation, banning offices of members of governors and houses of members of parliament. We saw serious looting of businesses in Nairobi and across the country. In Kitengera, in Nyeri, there's a member of parliament who lost more than almost $1 billion Kenyan shilling in investment. So if it was spontaneous, then no one should be scared. But if it was not spontaneous, if there's someone who planned the banning of and looting of businesses in across the country, then whoever it is, action must be taken.
Okay, so do you know if there's a proper investigation that have been done to be able to establish exactly some of the people that were behind this, if at all?
Yes, investigations are going on. We have seen what many people have recorded statements. Let them continue recording statements. Let's get to the bottom of the matter. And let this not be have shades of politics at all. If it
So
was an
it's-
attempted coup, some people have to pay for it. If it was not attempted coup, then there's no one who should be worried about it.
But-
If the investigations are carried out and there's no direction that there was direct involvement in trying to finance, to organize. Remember, when we had cases of ICC, investigations was done. We were told there is a network, and a network is leading to some people. So those people who are heading these networks are the ones who are held accountable. Okay?
Okay.
So even in this case, is there a network in place? Who is in charge of this network? So these are what need to be unearthed by the investigators.
Okay.
And if there's no network, then there should be nobody who should be worried.
But Kimani, let me bring you in, and this is the thing. You see, the deputy president seems to be the one that is on the receiving end of this one. When it comes to an impeachment motion now being, signatures being collected to be able to table an impeachment motion in the floor of the House to have him impeached. And when we talk about, some of the things that he's being accused of in terms of fueling violence and all that, and also some of his aides being grilled in relation to the same. Honorable Ruku is talking about that, but fails to actually get to point to it directly. Let me come to one of the issues that we were able to see, and this was to do with how he spoke during the protests. And when the president issued a statement and he came out and said, you see, NIS has failed the president, and the claims that politicians were fueling this, and yet the president himself has admitted to it that it wasn't politicians, it was the rage of the people and all that. So trying to spin that particular narrative that, it was politicians, and at the end of the day, took it back to NIS in order to say, by the way, it is the NIS that failed the president, not telling him how the magnitude of this particular demonstration should be and how we've gotten to this particular point. This is my question. A lot has happened. A lot of politics, a lot of chaos we've witnessed, but now what he's saying is that somebody needs to pay for this. And from what we are seeing, the person that seems to be on the radar of, the investigating authorities and also the National Assembly is the second in command.
This case of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is an interesting one. It reminds me of rumors about the planned impeachment of Jaramogi, the first deputy or vice president of the Republic. And that how people very close to Kenyatta knew that he was negotiating a deal to import weapon on behalf of a neighboring nation, and waited until when the deal was almost complete. Then they accused him of importing weapons to try and organize a coup against the president. And they used that to try and impeach the vice president then. I have a feeling that it is very easy to prosecute in a court of public opinion, because in court of public opinion there is no burden of proof. You can just lay all the allegations you want, and nobody is going to pin you down to prove your allegations. But now when it comes to court of law, you have to, he who lays the allegations must prove by giving irrefutable evidence in a court of law that this actually happens. That threshold can't be met. That one I can assure you in a court of law, not unless the deputy president is so daft to have transferred money, directly to protesters, not even people who are purported to have funded, directly to singled out protesters who can confess that they were given that money to go and wreak havoc or do whatever it is. That cannot be proven in court of law, but it can be used to disparage somebody. But again, I think the deputy president is squarely to blame for being where he finds himself. Okay. In my opinion, there is nothing new under the sun. And in politics, we say, the more things appear to change, the more they remain the same. Together. They remain the same. And the only constant and consistent attribute of politics is betrayal. He's not going through what the other 10 occupiers previous occupiers of his office haven't gone through. Every vice president or deputy president has had his own share of tribulations. But now the danger with the deputy president is that he suffers the honest mistakes of a naive politician. A person who's been a politician for 5 years only, and then find himself occupying the second most important political office of the land. And now his situation has been exacerbated by his long service in administration as a senior administrator. In administration, your word is law. Your juniors can't question you. If you ask them to jump, they ask how high. If you tell them to run, the question is at what speed and where do we stop? But now when you are a boss of democratically elected MPs, your conduct must change. You must realize that you're dealing with equals and peers.
Has he fallen short of that when it comes to acting to the requirements and how he...
Look at the mistakes he's made. First mistake is him imagining that he has any legal power, so to put it, that allows him to have a say in the government. He's just a principal assistant of the president, serving at the whims of the president, waiting to be allocated duties by the president. The entitlement should not be there. You are not an equal of the president in as much as you gave him more votes than what his people gave him. Constitutionally, you have no power. You are just an assistant. You sit there, you fold your hands, you toe the line, you do what you are told, you do not do what you haven't been told.
One of the things
that is pure. That is now law. But again, this guy, Kenya Kwanza Coalition has 179 members. His backyard has 82 of those members. Almost 50% of the members of Kenya Kwanza Coalition come from Mount Kenya, because Mount Kenya affiliated MPs, both the women, the elected members of National Assembly and the nominated are 82. Now, Gachagua has failed to leverage on these numbers, because if Gachagua was to strike a compromise between him and all the MPs from Mount Kenya, that all of them were solidly behind him as their boss, then nobody would even dare touch a person who wield the support of 82 members in a National Assembly, where a coalition managing the affairs of the government has 179 members. Now, the scenario comes in here where ODM brings in 89 members. Together with 179, then you get to 268. The required threshold is 233. If Gachagua must survive, then he must convince 35 members from Mount Kenya, in fact 36 from Mount Kenya, assuming that nobody else other than ODM in Azimio will throw their weight behind the impeachment, then he has to convince at least the 6 members to survive. Does he yield the support of 36 members from Mount Kenya? He doesn't. That I can tell you for sure. In fact, I'm thinking if the members of Mount Kenya were asked, what would you want to impeach Gachagua? They would give 2 conditions. 1, assure us that he shall be replaced by another member from Mount Kenya, and number 2, assure us that it will be secret ballot and we will not suffer backlash back at home when we've been seen impeaching our own son.
Okay,
and if the 2 conditions are met, I can assure you that Gachagua would be impeached by nearly everybody in that parliament.
Honorable Ruku, just before I bring in Vivian, what will it take for you to impeach the deputy president? What will it take for you to impeach the deputy president?
I really don't want to engage in impeaching the president. I mean the deputy president.
But this is the thing.
I really don't want to engage in that or to comment in that. Mine is just to say, I don't know how the investigations has been done. I don't know the involvement of the deputy president when it comes to organizing chaos.
But you say somebody must pay for the price for whatever happened.
But in case he's a member of parliament who organized that, in case he's a minister who organized that, in case he's a senior, I don't know, former retired politician who organized that, whoever it is, that person should be held accountable and pay under the law.
And I want to bring you on something.
I don't want to talk about Rigiji's impeachment
fine.
at all at the moment. I don't know who is developing that petition to the House.
You haven't
I have
come
not
across
seen
that?
it. I have not seen signatures being corrected.
Now, will you sign it?
These
though,
are
if it comes?
just street rumors which are out there.
If it comes to your table, will you sign that petition?
When it comes to my table.
Yeah.
I mean, Kenya Kwanza Coalition is guided by consultations.
Yeah.
Of course, I know if there's such a thing, we must have a PG, a parliamentary group meeting,
Okay.
to discuss some of those issues.
Now,
this is not a matter which you just wake up and move it to Parliament.
Okay.
No. By the time it is finding its way in on the floor of the House, a lot of groundwork has been done, a lot of convincing has been done that this is the only option remaining. For now, we don't have such a petition or such an effort which has found its way in the National Assembly.
It hasn't come to your
It
table.
has
Let's
not
start
come to my table. I don't want to comment on something which I have not seen. But bottom line is, anyone who organized, attempted coup, that person, that group, that network must be crushed.
So you agree that there's somebody that organized an attempted coup that did not
There are
materialize?
people, true, there are people who organize that attempted coup. And that network...
Why do I feel like you have some information that you're not willing to share with us?
Is telling us he will impeach Gachagua without telling us he will impeach
I just wanted to add that I agree with Kimani.
Yeah.
In a span of less than 2 years in office, Gachagua has managed to make very many enemies and not consolidate enough support to solidify his position as either Mount Kenya kingpin or, just deputy president. And it doesn't help that also just prior to getting into office, he attacked Uhuru Kenyatta a lot. So thereby alienating already, some support that he could have galvanized. And it doesn't help that even across like to the opposition side, he also made like so many enemies. So right now, even if someone didn't agree, people would probably just vote yes out of, spite, just to maybe teach you a lesson or just to punish you, because over the last 2 years since he's swearing in, he's made a lot of enemies. Not just with people in the legislature and in government, but even with the public. Just his comments. Remember, he was the one who came up with the comment of Kenya's shareholders, which didn't sit well with the public. And then just the way he's always like spearheading and the agenda of Mount Kenya, even though he's the deputy president. So it's just